What started out as a relatively practical, family-friendly trim option morphed into Audi's coup de grace, a performance. The AVANTS series. But only the performance ones though, because those are cool. At the start of the 1990s, Audi had a bit of a problem. The 80 series was quite old, and the A series, specifically the A4, was quite good. No, they sent out the 80 with a bang in the form of the 80 B4, which was available as a sedan or an estate, but they don't call estates. They call them AVANTS. They also used this platform to launch the S2, which is basically a replacement for the Quattro that literally no one knows about, because it didn't work. No one bought it at all. Of course, saying that, it was not completely useless. They used that same style in the S2 performance line and put it in the old 80 series before its discontinuation, which meant it did have a very limited run of 4-door and Avant versions of the S2. But again, since the S2 failed, those versions failed, which means that no one bought them. But that did not deter Audi, no. They knew that they could do better, with a little bit of help. You see, luckily, Audi was owned by Volkswagen, who also owns many things, including Porsche. And they decided to call in Porsche for some backup on their new performance car. But the 2-door didn't work. And the 4-door, well, we can't challenge the M division cars, so let's do something that the M cars never thought of. Make a performance estate. The plan was set. Audi would work on the body and the drivetrain, while Porsche would handle the brakes and the suspension. It was a match made in heaven, but don't think it was a subtle match, because it was not. There were Porsche badges all over the place. They were on the brakes, the wheels, the badges, they were everywhere. Hell, the thing was even built in the same factory as the 959 supercar. Don't think this was a Porsche project with some Audi badges on it. No, no, no. Because not only did it have the Audi estate body on it, it also had the 2.2-liter 5-cylinder from Audi's traditional lineup, but it wasn't a standard engine. It had low-pressure exhaust, intercoolers, new injectors, new camshafts, a more efficient air intake, and a bigger turbocharger, boosting power to over 300 horsepower. And of course, it had Audi's signature Quattro all-wheel drive system, which went 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds for an estate car. The only things that could touch it were the proper hypercars, like the McLaren F1 and the Bugatti EB110. The public had never seen such an efficient car move practically. We've had sedans do stuff like that for sure, but an estate car? That just defies the laws of physics. And sure, they didn't make many of them. That's one of the reasons it's so iconic. It was very low volume. It was a massive success. It is credited as the world's first super estate and put Audi on the map for true performance monsters. They were already relatively well known for the Quattro and their World Rally Championship, but this made them the king of practical performance. And the RS2 Avant still has that legacy lasting to this day. It's still a cult icon that go for over 6 figures now. With the massive, legendary success of the RS2, one of the true icons of the 20th century motoring, they had to follow it up. So they did the exact same thing with the 4 series, the RS4 Avant. And in order to differentiate between the S4 is the sedan version. But the RS4 was the Avant only. Which is weird, because normally the ultra high performance versions are given RS. Oh wait, this was the ultra high performance version. It had a 2.7-liter twin turbocharged V6 made by Cosworth, developing 375 horsepower and 325 torque. And the bodywork, which not only allowed 44 feet of cubic storage with the seats folded flat, also had a drag coefficient of just 0.34, which meant an electronically limited top speed of 155 miles an hour. And in 2006, the engine was up from a V6 to a V8 4.2-liter naturally aspirated to be specific. That bumped the top speed to 165, if you were so crazy. And the crazier thing than the top speed is the handling. You might think these are nearly 2-ton estate cars. With all-wheel drive, they're going to be understeery boats, the weight's going to pull them out of line, the driveline's going to pull them out of line, but the thing is, they handle quite well. Thanks to wider axle tracks, revised torque bias settings that allow up to 80% of the power to be delivered to the rear wheels. That's a lot, and it really helps reduce that on-power understeer. And then we have the brakes, which were coated in silicon carbide to all but eliminate brake fade, and the brakes themselves are made of ceramics to reduce unsprung weight by almost 50%. This was another brilliant car, not quite as revolutionary as the RS2, but a natural evolution of it. And I mean, it's so good they still make it to this day, so top trumps Audi. Of course, you know, I say top trumps. The real top trump is the RS6. This thing came out in 2002, using the same 4.2-liter V8 as the RS4, but it makes 444 horsepower. The suspension got 30% stiffer, and the brakes swelled to over 14 inches in diameter, which is good because it weighs over 2 tons. And if you opted for the Performance Plus version, you got 473 horsepower and a 0 to 60 time of just 4.4 seconds. You're making an apartment building go faster to 60 than most sports cars of the day. And it got even better in 2008 with the C6 generation. Not that C6, the C6 Avant. Because it had new equipment like 275 Pirelli P0 racing tires and Audi's new dynamic ride control suspension. But the biggest change, the 4.2-liter V8 it's too simple, too common, everyone had one of those. Boring. So, let's go for, say, a twin-turbocharged 5-liter V10 from the Audi R8, no less. It made 571 horsepower and did 0 to 120 miles an hour in 12.5 seconds. It does 0 to 120 faster than a Ford EcoSport does 0 to 60. Even with a 4,500 pound curb weight, it still does all of that thanks to its all-weather all-wheel drive. And since it's so heavy, it's got the storage space, 59 cubic feet of the thing. It actually has more storage space than their SUV lineup. So why get one of those? Anyway, I'm gonna get off topic on a rant, so let's end that discussion before it begins. Which brings us to some sad news, because the crazy mad R8 V10 was ditched from the C7 model in 2013, going back to the twin-turbocharged V8, but it made 600 horsepower, so, you know, if you have to go down, you might as well go up in power. So long, ultra-cool V10, we will miss you. Which brings us on to the 2020 RS6 Avant, called the C8. It was a complete reset on the RS6 formula. Well, sort of. You see, the engine was the same, a 600 horsepower, 4-liter twin-turbo V8. Ooh. Still not a V10. And it still had all-wheel drive, and it still had 60 cubic feet of storage capacity. But it also had a 48-volt hybrid system which not only reduces emissions and increases range, but since it has a hybrid system, it drops the 0 to 60 to just 3.6 seconds. And with the dynamic package enabled, the top speed is increased to 190 miles an hour. 190 miles an hour in a building that weighs over 2.5 tons. And best of all, better than the top speed, better than the 600 horsepower, better than the cubic foot capacity. It's sold here in America. Oh my god. They're actually selling the RS6 Avant here in the States for the first time ever. We don't get any performance Avants because we like our stupid goddamn crossover SUVs, but we're getting one, so I highly encourage you, if you care about cars at all, and you have $130,000 lying on the sidelines, buy one. Just buy it. Just get out right now, go to your Audi dealership, and drop 130 grand RS6 because it's goddamn brilliant. Now, for our more European buyers, if the 130,000 is too much of a task for you, then you can do your part as well with the 2021 RS4 Avant, which is much more budget-minded, a mere 90,000 USD. But for that, you get a Porsche-developed 2.9-liter V6 from the RS5, making 444 horsepower, and you get a new sports diff, which gives it a 0 to 60 time of 4.1 seconds. But, you know, the top speed, just like the price, is proportionally less, at a measly 174 miles an hour. And, well, I personally have never seen one or driven one. Since the track width was widened by 2.4 inches and that new sports diff was enabled, I'm expecting that this all-wheel drive estate car is going to handle just as good as all of these other physics-defying estate cars. BMW may have the crown for super sedans, if I'm honest, with the M5 and the M3. But if you want to crown the king of super estates, well, there's only one name in the game, baby. Audi's been doing it for 30 years, and I don't see them slowing down anytime soon, even with our obsession with SUVs.